Hello and welcome to the continuous testing meetup for today. I hope everyone could hear the song. It's a small audio check. We are starting soon. First of all, we want to say thank you to Sauce Lab, TUI, and Trendig for providing us the time and the tools. And also special thanks to Aurelian, who's the co-host and organizer of this. For everyone who's interested in more from Continuous Testing Meetup, go to continuoustestingmeetup.com. They can see older and most probably tomorrow morning already than this recording. And you can enjoy more infotainment. So now, today, we are having a talk from Pallavi Sharma about the test automation toolbox, exploring frameworks built on WebDriver, the API for browser automation. And now we switch over to Pallavi, and I wish you fun and a great evening.
Hey, thank you so much, Orlin. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you for this platform and the kind introduction. And thanks for playing that song. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. I hope you all are able to hear me and see me. Very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you for joining today's continuous testing meetup session. So, just quickly let me know if you all are able to see my screen.
Yep.
So you can just pop up in the chat and let me know if you all are able to see my screen and hear me as well. Okay? Okay. So we begin our session and it's around close to 30 to 40 minutes. And in the end, it will be followed by question and answers. So if during the session, during the talk, you have any questions, please feel free to put it on the chat. But I will be taking it at the end of the session. I hope that's okay with all of you. And with that, let's begin our talk. Again, a very warm welcome to all of you and thank you so much for joining. And so today's talk is about the test automation toolbox, where we are going to explore some frameworks which are all open source in nature, which are built over the WebDriver protocol. The WebDriver protocol, as most of you will be aware, is effectively an API to talk to the browsers and other user agents. So hey everyone, my name is Pallavi Sharma. I am a founder at 5 Elements Learning and Mosaic Words. I'm a published author on 4 Selenium books, and one of my books is going to be published in next month or so, which would be on Night Watch. I'm a committed to Selenium project for past now close to 3 years. And most of the time I look out the windows. I'm a nature watcher and I believe in being kind. You can basically scroll this scan this QR code if you would like to connect to me on any of the platforms. LinkedIn is preferred. You can please feel free to do so. So we are going to today effectively talk about some of the basics, and then we will be quickly moving on to the main talk for today. So we are going to talk about automation and web browser briefly, understanding about the functioning of it. We'll be then moving on to understanding a web application and HTML page, and in what all of this the WebDriver is doing when we are trying to automate a web application. What exactly are we trying to do? Where in all of this Selenium comes into picture, and what are all other various open source projects which are made available on the client bindings, which are basically based upon the WebDriver protocol, which we can use because they provide us with this boilerplate, platform, which we can use for our test automation purposes. And then we will have question and answers in the end. So that's just icebreaker. We all know if if you're building something, there will always be bugs which will be following you. So yeah, we as testers, we have a role to play and we will always be there. Wherever the bugs are, we would be there. Jokes aside, let's start the session. So what effectively do we understand by the word automation? When we say automation, we are basically saying that any activity where a machine is replacing a human, effectively we are trying to automate that activity. So when we speak about a browser and we are trying to automate the browser and setting the context for the talk, we are trying to automate the browser for testing purposes. What exactly is a web browser which we are trying to automate? What is exactly a web application and where does this protocol fits into picture? So going back to the basics, we basically have a client-server architecture, right? So we have a web server and which basically is hosting our web application, and there are some static resources, some dynamic resources. And on the client-side interface, we have a browser, which is effectively going to talk to your web server whenever a client sends the request. Okay, your end user generates a request. For example, as simple as when we try to, open a browser and we type in a URL on that. The browser basically looks up with the help of the DNS and it tries to locate the address. Once it finds the address where the application is there, it basically establishes a connection. And via the HTTP request and response, we are effectively able to see the web page on our session. If some of you have experienced performance testing, and if some of you have used tools like JMeter, and so you might be aware that whenever we are sending a request, we are getting a response, and with all that, there are a lot of codes available. So having some basic knowledge on that aspect is always helpful to understand what exactly is happening when an end user is trying to interact with an application. Behind the scenes, what exactly is happening is something we should be aware of. Now, when we talk about a web browser is effectively a software application which allows us to explore the World Wide Web. It is acting as an interface between the web server and a browser. And like any software application, a web browser also has various components. One of the components is a browser engine and the rendering engine. It is crucial that the browsers, which we are all familiar with, are based upon the web standards. That web standard is defined by the W3C, okay? The World Wide Web Consortium defines these web standards. So WebDriver is a web standard which has been defined by W3C, which effectively means that for any browser which is to be compliant by W3C, the browser should allow the WebDriver to interact with it. Okay. So browsers like Chrome, Mozilla, Edge, Safari, which are all based on it, they effectively are following the web standards which are put forward by W3C, which also means that they allow talking via WebDriver. So there are some links. I will be making this presentation available for more deeper knowledge to understand web standards, or if you get interested in knowing how a web browser is functioning, you can go and have a look at it. Now, what exactly is a WebDriver? And this definition has been taken from the W3org. So WebDriver is a remote control interface that enables introspection and control of the user agents. It basically is providing us a platform where we have a language neutral wire protocol, and it is a living document, okay? Which basically means that the standard can get updated and it's a living document. And there are drivers which are effectively now created by these browser vendors, which allow the implementation of WebDriver. So we might be aware of, if we are already, having some experience with browser automation for testing purposes, you might have heard about Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Edge driver, Safari and Opera and others. Now, again, there are some important links. So WebDriver is a protocol which was established, and there is a little history which we are going to talk about. And at the same time, I'm going to basically mention the WebDriver by day protocol, which is being built again in collaboration with various, people across projects from browsers and from projects like Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, and other projects which are all interested in browser automation. And various teams and people are coming together and collaborating to build the next set of protocol. So when we talk about WebDriver, what exactly is it is in context with Selenium? Understanding this, it will be helpful. So WebDriver is a W3C standard. Again, I'm repeating, which is providing us with the platform neutral interface for browser automation. In 2004, Selenium got created, and in 2007, WebDriver got created. So when Selenium got created in that era by Jason Huggins and a lot of other people, it was effectively a JavaScript engine, so which was injected into your web application, and through that Selenium was able to talk to the application. Simon Stewart, while working, he basically found out there is a better way to talk to the browser through the browser WebDriver. Okay, the interface which gets exposed, which every browser is exposing. And then these two projects merged together, and we got Selenium WebDriver, which is known as, from there on, it is known as Selenium 2. When we had Selenium 2, the owners of providing these browser drivers, okay, was still on the Selenium project, and Selenium used to do that. But from Selenium 3 onwards, when it became a W3C standard, WebDriver became a W3C standard, the owners of providing these browser drivers were then taken up by the browser platform. So your Firefox gave us Gecko driver, and Chromium-based browsers gave us Chrome driver, and we have WebKit for Safari. And then Selenium 4 came into picture, which had a lot of features, and it enabled the CDP protocol. And now there are discussions which are going on, and Selenium is working on Selenium 5, which effectively, there is a team, like I mentioned, which is working on building the WebDriver BiDi protocol. And Selenium is one of the pioneer projects which are implementing it, along with all other projects which want to provide you with the ability to automate the browser. So this diagram is available and taken from the Selenium website. We basically have the WebDriver bindings, which is talking to the browser driver, okay, which is effectively then talking to the browser. So the point in here is to make is we are interacting with the browser through the WebDriver protocol, like an end user would be interacting, okay. So this is important to understand. I'll be sharing some talks by David Burns, who effectively talks about why is it important that we should be aware that we are automating the browser like an end user is. And this communication, why it becomes important, that's crucial to understand when you are building your test automation architecture to test your application across browsers and across devices. So in here, the reason I'm going to talk a little bit about Selenium is because I will be quickly moving on to the various client bindings which Selenium provides us. And by now I have established that Selenium as a project was was the project which collaborated with WebDriver and became Selenium WebDriver. And it provides us with these various client bindings, which are basically implemented in different programming languages. So if you are someone who is interested in automating your web browser for testing purposes, and let's say your language of choice is Python, then you should be aware that there is a great test automation framework code available, an open source project available, which provides you with a very good base, a boilerplate framework, which you can use to solve your project requirements. And you don't have to build things from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So Selenium is effectively a browser automation library, which is based on the WebDriver standard. And it is one of the projects which is wholeheartedly driving the WebDriver BiDi standard implementation with other browser vendors and other tools in the market. So it's an open source project. It is a browser automation library. So Selenium can be used wherever you want to use for browser automation, whether it is for testing, for web scraping, or you want to automate filling of your timesheets. Selenium is there. And Selenium has got three important components. We have IDE, we have the WebDriver, and we have the grid. Now, what are the client bindings which we are referring to in here, which are provided by Selenium? So these are the libraries which are provided by Selenium in various programming languages. On these client bindings, we have other open source projects which are built. Some of the projects use Selenium client bindings and they build over it. And some of the projects just directly talk to the WebDriver protocol and they have built their own implementation of it. Okay. So knowing both will be beneficial so that you can explore this space when you are wanting to automate your browser. Now I will be taking some example in here and I will be primarily explaining it with, I'll be picking Java for a languages which is object oriented and a scripting language Python. I'll be taking these two languages as an example to explain some of the concepts, and these can be extrapolated to C#, Ruby, or JavaScript. Okay, I hope that's fair enough. So let us look at the Java client binding, which is provided to us, and let's have a look at it. So these are the Java client bindings for Selenium, okay? And in here, you can see that we already have started the and reached at a very good stage with the BiDi implementations. Now, why do I open this? Because I want to showcase to you three important classes, which we will see how that gets built in the framework. So here we have a package. If we are aware of the Java programming language, this is a package which we have. It will consist basically classes and interface. So when we are trying to launch a browser, we basically talk to WebDriver, which is an interface in this Java implementation of Selenium, okay? And then we say WebDriver driver is equal to new, whichever browser we want to launch, whether it is Firefox or it is Chrome. Our second aspect to that is once the browser instance is created, we should be able to identify the web element on which we want to perform an action. Now, how to identify the web element on which we have to perform an action? For that, we will be needing the help of locators. Locators are basically identified by the by class, okay? So we identify the locators based upon their name or their ID or their XPath or the CSS or the accessibility. Through all of this, we identify the element. Now here I'm going to take a small pause and take you all to a web application, which we will be using it for our demo purpose. And with this, I'm going to talk about again some of the basic concepts. Is so far we are all clear? If you have any questions, any doubts, anything you would like to put it up in the question forms, feel free to do that. And just feel free to let me know that if we are all clear till now. Okay, cool. Great. Thank you for responding. So when we look at this, this interface, I'm on a Firefox browser. I typed in a URL. Okay, so this is the URL which I'm using. I'm going to share it with you guys. If you are learning Selenium, or if anyone is, or any tool, you feel free to use this web application. Okay, it's made for that purpose. You can find out a lot of flows. It's basically mimicking an e-commerce website. Small advice, please do not create an account with your actual email addresses. Use a dummy email address. Okay. That's the only point I would say. So you will find a lot of flows available on this web application. Now I'm going to just perform few steps, which is let's note down the steps that we are going to perform, because on this we are basically going to see the um, application. Okay, I mean the implementation. So our first step is launch application, and I'm going to stick to Firefox browser only. Again, browser could be, you can choose any other browser. I'm going to click on the My Account link, and I'm going to simply verify whether I see the user sign-in page, and then I'm going to call it quit. These are the 4 steps which we are going to perform. I have just written the small script, and I mean the pseudocode or the flow of steps which we are going to perform. Now, if you're trying to automate these steps through any tool of your choice, you would need to identify, first of all, you would need to create a browser instance, right? Once you have created that browser instance, you would want to identify how would you tell your script that you have to basically the tool, click on my account. We generally use link text. And from where that information is coming? That information is coming from the application page source. If I go to this application page source, at the back end, I see HTML. Okay. So let's say when you try to verify the title is given here. Okay. So if you say get title, this is what would be returned to you. Now, which link we were interested in? We were interested in the My Account link. So let's have a look at it. As you can see, it's an anchor tag. It has got an ID, TDB3, and it has got a href. That href takes it to the page, which would be the user sign-in page. And the text which we see here on the screen is my account. Okay. So this information we get from the backend HTML. Okay. And similarly, when you are trying to, let's say we click on my account, and you want to now, I will be, once I've clicked on my account, I basically want to verify that welcome, please sign in. This text should be present on the page so that I know I'm on the my account page. On this page, I can either go ahead and create a new customer, or I can sign in with my registered user credentials. Again, if I want to, let's say I'm a returning customer and I want to type text on email address and password. To identify which locator to use, I can go and look at the HTML of this application, and I should be able to identify. Okay, so this is the object of my interest. It's effectively an input element, which is of type text, and it has got a name property. Wonderful. And that solves my thing. Now, in here, it is important to understand that whenever you are trying to automate an application and you are trying to create a test automation framework and build your all, work related to it, it's effectively a development project, okay? And instead of creating locators, weird locators, and locators which are path-based like XPath, it's always better that if you are aware, you can try and provide that information to your development team, to your product team, that may make the application testable. Okay. For example, for the page to have ID and name, for each object, it's actually a W3C compliance, okay? So if your application doesn't have it, you are basically failing a compliance scenario. So it's important that your application is made testable, and we are also talking a lot about observability. So that aspect should also be taken care of. So once you have understood that now when we are looking at an HTML application, we have all these HTML objects. Each object can be recognized using some properties, ID, name, XPath, CSS, and other various properties which are defined in the HTML of that object. So whichever application or tool you are trying to use to automate your browser and your web application for testing purposes, you will have to create an instance of the browser. You have to identify the element on which you want to perform an action. And to identify that element, you will need locator information. And I showed you the API for Java. Similarly, let's have a look at the API of Python. So similar to Java, if you look at the API docs for Python, it would also have, a WebDriver object, a by. Depending upon which programming language we are using, we just change the naming convention. There it is a package, here it is a module, okay? And so on and so forth. But the implementations or the overall, if you look at from a broader perspective, you are basically having similar things. You have implemented WebDriver protocol in the Python implementation. You have done it in Java. You will be doing it for C#, Ruby, whichever language of your choice you want to pick. It would be similar. So you can, so you can do this exercise actually, that you can, just take one component, let's say a WebDriver component we pick, and we find out how is it is implemented in Java, what is it called, how is it implemented in Python, in Ruby, in C#. It is a great learning exercise and it would really help you clear some concepts. So far, I hope it's all good for all of you. And with that, I have a small request to make. You all appear to be, great, good people, well-meaning folks. There is no planet B. So if you get a chance, whenever this weekend, today, tomorrow, go ahead and plant a tree or save one. It would be great if you do that. So thank you for that time. So we have looked at a sample HTML page, and let me go to the presentation mode. And we have looked at, from where we are getting that information to create a locator. Okay. So whenever we are trying to automate a web application, there are two major components we need to be aware of. One is we need to create the script, okay? And the script becomes a test script when we add validation and verification components to it, okay? Creation is one aspect, execution is another aspect. And if you are wanting to be more, tech savvy, scheduling is another aspect to it. So we will stick right now only to creation and execution. So for creation of a script, you should be having something to manage your browser. Once that is done, you want to identify your element. Once that is done, you want to basically act on the element. You want to then verify the action you have done so that the scripts can run in unattended mode and it can log bugs when it doesn't work as intended. For execution, you basically want to execute it locally, or you would want to go to a cloud-like setup. Either make your own with help of grid like component. If you are a user of Selenium, you have Selenium grid. If you are a user of other tools, I am sure they must be having that aspects to provide you. And then you have all these cloud service, providers like Sauce Labs, Browser Stack, Lambda Test, and others, which basically provide you that platform where you can run your application, your test automation suites on cloud. So our simple script workflow is We want to launch a browser, okay? Sorry, launch a browser with an application URL. We want to perform an action on an element. So what are the steps which we are going to do? We want to launch the demo site on Firefox browser. We want to click on the My Account link and we want to verify that the click has happened and we close the browser. That's it. That's our problem statement. And with this, we basically will be looking at this very small script. Let's look at the different frameworks which are built on the WebDriver protocol, which are built over these Selenium client bindings in different programming languages which we can use. Are you all with me till here? I'll come back to these slides a little later. Okay, great. So when we talk about this WebDriver ecosystem, okay, so when we speak about this WebDriver ecosystem, what we need to be aware of, the Selenium WebDriver client bindings is available in various programming languages: Java, Python, C Sharp, Ruby, JavaScript. Question arises a lot of times, which is the best programming language to learn for browser automation purposes for testing? Either of these languages, in whichever language you have resources on, you have support on from your organization, uh, support from your development team, whichever language you find comfortable to work on, that language should be the best language for you to implement and work with your tool. So like I mentioned, that Selenium has its client bindings, WebDriver client bindings available in various programming languages. Over that, there are other open source projects which have been made available, which basically are your, test automation frameworks which we can use. Knowing them and understanding that you have this available, if you are wanting to use Selenium for your test automation purpose, it would be advisable and it would be wise to look at all these other open source projects which are doing that job for you and have already solved a lot of problems statements for you. And at the most, you can also take inspiration from them and build your own. That's up to you. So in Java, I have chosen one from each of these languages, which I'm going to showcase to you. And I will also try and provide some information as to how do we identify projects, which one would be a good project to use. Okay, so for Java, I'm going to pick Selenite. For Python, Selenium base. For C Sharp, Adata. For Ruby, the name is not here. It's Ruby Raider, which I'm going to pick. Water is also pretty famous. And for JavaScript, I'm going to take WebDriver IO. So let's start with Java, okay? The project which I'm going to pick is Selenite. I'm showcasing the photos of the creators as well with this because it's important for you to know who is the person behind that project, okay? And with all due respect to these creators, it's their hard work and it's them doing it. I'm just the messenger. So Henry is basically the creator and various other contributors is the creator of Selenite. Let's have a look at Selenite. Selenite is basically a project which is built upon Selenium Java client bindings. Okay, so that's the project. If you scroll down, that's the GitHub link. All these links will be available in the presentation, and as I said, it will be made available to you all. Now that's a GitHub project, okay? And if you basically look at the README, it says it's a UI testing framework powered by Selenium WebDriver, okay? And it explains what is it. It's a framework for writing easy and ready to use and maintain automated tests in Java, okay? Which effectively means that it has provided you with a solution to a lot of problems which will come up when you are trying to build your own default test automation framework, object management, data management, creating some design pattern. Because it's not only that we have to just simply create, we have to also maintain it. We need to ensure that we are making it robust enough for changes. And we want to ensure that we have made it modular in nature. We do not want to keep on multiple lines of code solving the same thing again and again. That doesn't help. The more the number of code lines, the more it is prone to bug. I'm going to repeat it again. Your test automation is a development project, okay? So treat it like one. Now it basically provides us very simple steps to perform this action. It says that you can go ahead and create a login test. You just simply say open and you provide the URL. You identify the object. Some nice keywords are given like open, set value, and for verification purpose, it is also providing you with a solution which doesn't come by default with Selenium. If you have implemented Selenium, you would know that to use Selenium for test automation purpose, if you're going to use Selenium, then you should have a unit testing framework which you will need to use. For Java, it could be JUnit SNG. For Python, it could be PyTest or unit test. For C Sharp, it could be MS test. Okay. So you would need to use a unit test framework. You would need to have a project management tool in place and a lot of other things. A lot of that gets solved by using these test automation frameworks, which are again open source, built upon Selenium WebDriver, and this one is for Java. Now you can have a look at the information for this GitHub project. It is already being used by 19,000 people. That's a lot of people. And it has close to 114 contributors. Sounds to me like a healthy project. Go ahead and look at the issues. A project having issues is a good sign. And a project having issues which are recently logged is even better and get them getting solved. So you can look at the open and the closed and make and do your own research to understand whether the project is healthy enough, is being maintained well. Because in the open source world, all that information should be needed. And it is always good to just, connect with the creator and let them know that you are interested in, working on this project, implementing it for your requirements. Now, I am going to showcase to you an implementation of these steps in Selenium and Selenite, okay? And I will be showing you the script side by side. So let me open that. I'm not a VS Code fan. I like the old Eclipse, but whichever ID you prefer, you can go ahead and have it there. So meanwhile, it is loading. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put it over the chat. Okay, so this is a Maven project, which we are all seeing right now, okay? Okay. So this is a Maven project and it has a form.xml, okay? In this, I have added the dependency for Selenium and I have added the dependency for Selenite. Fair enough? Now let me show you First, let me show you a plain Selenium script. To create a Selenium script, I would need to import package for Selenium, the Firefox driver, and the unit test framework. Okay. And we use the test annotation to basically tell this is the method. We are creating an instance of the Firefox driver. We are then using driver.get to basically launch the browser with the URL. We then use driver.findElement. We provide the information. How do you want to find the element? Once the element is found, we want to perform the click operation on it. And then using this if condition, we basically want to fetch whether the page which has been launched by clicking on my account contains welcome, please sign in or not. If it does, I have not used those assert commands here. I've just simply said, say driver.quit because I want to close the test here or my script here. But here, ideally, assert statements would come, again, based upon the unit test framework which you are using. Now, this is the script which we wrote using Selenium. The same script, if you write using Selenite, you can look immediately, one thing will come to your attention is the number of code lines is reduced significantly, right? The language appears a little bit more end user friendly. You have a keyword open, okay? In the back end, this keyword is actually doing what this plain Selenium is doing, but you look at it as a wrapper which has been now built. And this line, which basically identifies the element, and then you perform a click operation on it. And this is your verification, which is happening. There are no if statements. It is basically verifying with the help of JUnit. It has built its own wrapper and it has calling a function called as should have. Okay. And here you can find out that this should have function is implemented. If you want to go back and look at the code base, it tells you the path that you have to effectively go to the selenide element, and there the implementation of should have would be found. So when I execute this code or if I execute this code, both of them will be performing the same function. But I hope the advantage of using Selenide over Selenium becomes clear to you. At the end of the day, inside Selenide, Selenium only is being used. Okay, but this is a ready-made test automation framework which you can use to solve your test automation requirements. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, is what I'm trying to share. So I'm just running the script for Selenite. And I got it working. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Highly recommended if you are a Selenium Java user to explore that. And this is what Selenium would be doing as well. Same thing, no magic tricks. Okay. So both of them perform the same functions, but I hope you are able to see the advantage using open source project like Selenide brings to the table. Is this clear so far? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to ask how much time do I have left? I'm sorry, I'm on different time zones, so I'm getting a bit confused. How much time is still left?
It's up to you, but let's say 10, 15 minutes.
Do I have 15 minutes if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, yes.
You have
Yes.
1 hour 15 minutes is there as per the calendar timing. So
Okay.
yeah, we have 1 hour 12 minutes exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So now I have basically shown you for one object-oriented programming language, which is Java. And similarly, if you go to, let's say, your choice of language to automate, is .NET, then you go ahead and look at a Tata framework. I'm sorry, I'm unable to pronounce the name properly. I don't want to mispronounce it, but yeah, he's the person. Sorry, unable to pronounce your name. Please don't mind. That's the GitHub project. Okay. Again, if you look at the, sorry, someone saying something?
Sorry, I just thought that's Evgeny.
Okay, thank you so much, Evgeny. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'll remember. Thank you. So Evgeny, is the creator, and I first came across this project in one of the Selenium conferences. So a great thing about the world of open source is that there is a lot to learn by attending various conferences and meetups, which keeps happening. You come across some really wonderful information which can help you with your professional aspects. So if you look at this project, health, I think it issues. There are 9 open issues, but there are some closed issues as well. We can change the state to closed to look at them. And it appears in an okay active state. Last issue being logged on 2024. And you can always, like I said, have a word with the creator of the project to find out whether the project is being maintained. So one of the reasons you could be worried about if you are using these projects, whether it is also updating itself to the latest Selenium versions, which yes, these projects are doing. And you can also go ahead and ask them, are they also prepared for the WebDriver beta implementations which are going to come up? And these projects would then let you know. So to use .NET, you need to have, that kind of a setup, the IDE which supports that language, your unit test framework, and using Atata, you again overcome a lot of, boilerplate components, which you will be anyways making if you are using a default project like Selenium, okay? So I have shown you Java. I want to show you now for one scripting language. And the scripting language I'm choosing is Python. We did a recent talk with the creator of Selenium based, Michael Mintz. I'll share that link with you guys in the Selenium community talks, which we do. So Michael Mintz, that's the person, and he has created this Selenium base. It's a wonderful, wonderful project on the Selenium Python implementation, Selenium Python client bindings. And let's have a look at it. Close to 2,400 people are using Selenium base. There are 32 contributors. And it has got a great website. A lot of example codes are given to help you understand how you can use Selenium base for different aspects of your test automation requirements. And now when you look at Python, okay, I hope you all remember when we were in Java, we used the project management tool, Maven, and we basically added those dependencies. Can anyone tell me from where are those dependencies listed? Where do we get that information from? So if you are a Java person, you could be aware that we have a Maven repository. Okay. So the Maven repository is where all those information is listed. So you open the Maven repository and here I search for Selenium and I get the information for Selenium Java 4.3.5 4.32.0 is the latest version. And if I'm on Maven, this is where I copy it. Similarly, for selenite, I got the information from here, okay? 7.9.2, always use the latest version. And this is the dependency information which I was able to fetch. Now I am on Python. For Python, what is the equivalent for Maven repository is the Python package index, okay? From here, I will get the information. For Selenium, I'm going to search the Selenium package in the py.pi.org. And I get it. And this is the command. You simply have to say pip install Selenium. So once you are trying to now create the setup where your programming language is changed. Instead of Java, now we are on Python. So I'm talking about this for you to understand that, let's say your language changes to Ruby. For Ruby, this would be a gem, okay, which you would be installing. For .NET, it would be a Nugget package, which you would be installing, okay? Now my IDE also changes or could change, but Eclipse has a good support for Python as well. So I'm using the same IDE Eclipse, but you can choose your own IDE. But before I go ahead and create a plain script for Selenium, I have to install or have Selenium on my system. Similarly, before I go ahead and create a script for Selenium base, I need to have Selenium base on my system. And the command is pip install Selenium base. And if I want to use Selenium base with PyTest, then PyTest pip install PyTest Selenium base. Okay. You have the name of the maintainer and the documentation of Selenium base available. Is this clear? For Python, is this clear what we are doing? Any questions? I'm reading your questions. I use it's pip. I use pip talk. I am not aware of UV, but I use pip. Okay, so it appears to me that it is clear. So let's look at the implementation. Again, the steps are same. We are going to, I'm going to showcase to you in Selenium and Selenium base. Okay. Just waiting for Eclipse to launch the project. And if meanwhile, any one of you would like to explore Selenium base, you feel free to do it. I'm sharing the link here.
One
And
person has asked is if it's new Selenium to the market.
pardon? Sorry, I was not able to hear that properly.
One person asked if Selenium is new to the market.
Selenium is not, no.
Selenite, maybe, my bad.
We are the
Selenite.
oldest. We are now on the 21st year. But I think the project should take that as a feedback and maybe do more so that people know it. So Selenium is in 21st year of its existence. So if
Yeah,
maybe-
sorry, I misled. It's selenide, not selenium.
okay. So if it's in India, it would have the right to drive, I guess, or maybe it's 18 years where we get, okay, whatever. Okay, so let's look at the plain Selenium script, okay? Now this is Python. Our language has changed, but like I said, if you can draw, just look at it from a higher perspective, you have to basically import the components which are going to be used in your script. You have to create an instance of your Firefox driver. Using that driver.get, you basically provide the command for the browser to launch with a particular URL. You wait, add an implicit wait. We did not add that line in Java, but it's good to have this line. And then you basically try to identify the web element. The locator is same. We are using the link text locator. The value is my account, and we perform the click. Since it is Python, the syntax is changed, okay? Not the logic. The syntax is changing. And then you basically, here only Python is coming. We have fetched the page source and stored it in a variable. We have created another variable with welcome, please sign in. And we are verifying whether temp is in message, okay? It's just a string existence which we are checking whether that substring is in the main string or not. If it is there, we call driver.quit. Again, I have not added any verification statement here. In ideal situation, if it would have been a test script, you would have added a verification statement. To add a verification statement, this particular script need to import another module. For Python, it would either be unit test or PyTest, okay? A unit test framework for that particular language. Now let's look at the same with Selenium base. Immediately you will note your code lines or the number of lines you have written is reduced, okay? It appears pretty clean. You simply say from Selenium base import, you basically are creating an alias, okay? And you see the keywords used here. We don't say driver.get, provide the URL, difficult to read. You have a command, simple command, open. You simply say click link. I'm not even providing which locator information I'm using, okay? Just click link. And here, for verification, I don't have to import any other libraries. I simply say assert text. I hope the advantage of using a test automation framework like Selenium base is pretty evident to you now. This internally is using Selenium, but it has provided you with all these amazing, wonderful keywords and wrapper functions, which makes your life a lot easier. And you don't have to manage all these other libraries separately. Now let's run the Selenium-based script. Doesn't like it, sorry, not from here. Go to the command prompt. Let's get the path. That's the path. I'm gonna just simply say Python and the name is Selenium base example, and I'm going to give it the browser. Okay. You can see Firefox is launched, okay? And it will perform the similar action. And green is always good, right? So we get that the whatever we have done is passing. Now, if you look at a project like Selenium Base, let's go to it. You have a lot of other modules as well available. Modules for managing your reports, your logs, and everything. You don't have to build it from scratch. So that's the benefit. These test automation frameworks, which are all open source in nature, built over Selenium, purely for testing purposes and more. Selenium Base also provides you a lot of support for web scraping and various other things you would like to do with Selenium. So it's a wonderful project. If Python is the language of choice, you should definitely explore this project. Similarly, if we look at now for Ruby, we have a project, we do have Water, but I would like to bring to your attention another project, which is Ruby Raider, and the creator, the developer, the person behind is Augustine, and that's the GitHub link. Ruby Raider is again a wonderful open source project which provides to you some cool implementations if you are using Selenium with Cucumber, if you are using even with Water for accessibility, for mobile testing framework. So it has got a lot of solutions. So if Ruby again is the language of your choice, Ruby Raider should definitely be the project you should be looking at. And WebDriver IO needs no introduction. It's one of the most successful projects in the WebDriver ecosystem, developed by Christian Roman. So if JavaScript and TypeScript is the language of your choice, and you would like to use a tool which is running in its 21st year, and WebDriver protocol, the reason being that any tool, any project which is implementing the WebDriver is basically ensuring that it's being compliant to the W3C standard. So it is driving your browser like an end user would be doing, okay? Sometimes some of the components or tools which we use is effectively not driving the browser. They are basically only talking to the browser engine. And that information may not be obvious to someone who is a beginner or an end user. So it is important to know that the tool which you are using, is it automating the browser engine or is it automating the browser? If that tool is implementing WebDriver, then it is automating the browser. But if it is not that path it is taking, then you need to get the answer to your question, okay? It's important and you should be aware because there exist few test scenarios and bugs and situations where your application will not be tested for it because there is a difference between browser and browser engine. I hope from the very first few slides which we spoke about, we saw that browser engine is one of the components of your browser, okay? So it's important to understand that difference. Now, WebDriver IO is built upon directly on the WebDriver protocol, okay? It's used by, so if JavaScript is your choice, you like JavaScript, you are a developer and you have been asked to create a test automation framework, close to 71K people are using, 639 contributors. You could be one of them as well. 203 issues logged, that's a good number. Open, look at the closed as well. Okay, and the recent activity. And like I said, you can always go ahead and approach the contributors and the creator to find out more information about its future plan, about whether it is also getting updated as WebDriver is going to WebDriver BiDi. Is it building that support? The answer is yes, it is definitely building that support. And it is one of the projects which are collaborating to build the WebDriver BiDi protocol. We've been talking too much about these GitHub things and these projects. Let's look at the WebDriver BiDi in GitHub itself. So this protocol, this is the GitHub project for this protocol which is being built. So you can, go to the source and learn more about it. Some of the contributors, if you are a Selenium user, would be familiar. Let me share this link here. And similar to WebDriver, we have WebDriver by type. Okay. It's good to know about these direct GitHub links so that you can see the kind of work being done, the contributors, the people who are collaborating, the projects who have started collaborating. So there are some 36 contributors, like I mentioned. It's the latest protocol which is being built, and people across browsers, vendors, and tools are collaborating to build this new standard. So with that, I would like to now, open the session for question and answers. So we can, talk, and if you have any questions, we can take this aspect forward through your questions and make it a little bit more interactive. So I will just start looking at the chat. Is that okay, Orly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Alexander. Okay.
Pallavi,
So
thanks for explaining these concepts and scenarios in such a detail. I have one question regarding WebDriver IO. You said there is a difference between the conditions where only your WebDriver is automated or your web browser is automated for testing. So how does it impact? Should we have our web browser in all automated, or should we limit to our agent only?
So there are some tools which, one second, the question you have asked, there is a presentation community event which is done, and it is available. I mean, David Burns has spoken a lot about it. Uh, some of the tools which are there in the market, they are not automating the browser. They are only talking to the browser engine. And that can cause some situations and problems because it is not automating the browser as an end user. It is talking to your browser engine. And if you looked at the first few slides, browser engine is not browser, okay? Browser engine is a part of the browser, okay?
Yeah, this difference is clear. My question is, should we always automate our browser?
Yes, because your end user is automating the browser, right? Your end user is talking to the browser. Your end user is not talking to the browser engine.
Right. Clear, clear. I got answer to my query. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, why is it coming to webinar? Wait a second. I'll find out that event and I'll share the link.
All right, will be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. So, what are the precursors to script writing and execution? Example, framework installation, setup. What are the dependencies? So, for that question, I will show you this slide. So, whenever you are trying to, this one I want. So whenever you are trying to, create a test automation framework, let's say from scratch, you want to do that. You need to first choose what is your programming language in which you would want to do that, because the rest of the tech stack changes according to it. You then need to have a project management tool in place. And the reason for that is that you need to manage the dependencies. Okay. So by using a project management tool, it becomes easy for us to quickly change the versions, because you are working in an open source world, right? When you're working with a tool which is open source in nature, they keep having these various versions. And there is no team, right? Because you have not paid any money to anyone. There is no team which is going to inform you that, a new version is there. We are providing support and everything, and whatever you need, we are there. So you need to be the in charge, and you should be the one taking the ownership of your own project, which you have created around open source tools. The open source tool do release information. If you are following them through their blog or Slack or wherever they release information, GitHub. So you need to have a project management tool. For example, if I now want to, let me go back to Selenium, Java. Java was this. So let's say Selenite comes with a new version, or I want to go and use an older version of Selenite or Selenium. I only need to go and change that one line in the form.xml, and that would be all. So using project management tool is, you should definitely consider. You need to consider which unit test tool you are going to use. If you are, de facto using a tool like Selenium. Otherwise, if you're using these test automation framework tools, they have taken care of that work for you. But it would be good to know which one are they using under the hood. And then you need to have your architecture in place. Like I said, test automation is a development project. So all the components which we use when we are trying to develop an application, it should be maintainable, robust. You need to have modular aspects. How would you manage objects? How would you be managing data? Where are your reports? Where are your logs? Where are you storing images? What are you going to do with the exceptions? All that need to be thought about. Then comes selection of your reporting tool or logging tool. So Allure is one of the most, I think it's pretty widely used, a tool for your reporting. And then you need to set up your execution environment, whether it is local, going to run it in cloud. And eventually, before all of this, you should be having your CI/CD pipeline, and that should take care of it. Did I answer your question? Where was the question? I hope I answered.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Everyone is talking about Shills. If you're talking, you're on mute. So
Can you hear me?
sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
I think she just mentioned that the question is answered.
Oh,
Am
okay.
I right?
Thank you.
I hope so.
Yeah, I also hope so. Okay, so the question is, everyone is talking about Playwright these days because it solves common Selenium. No, it doesn't. That's misinformation, to say the least. That's not true. That's not true. So again, David Burns talks about exactly the same thing in the latest Selenium conference, which happened in Valencia. That's not true. It is not Selenium issue that it is a flaky test. It's the implementation issue. Okay. Even Playwright and Cypress have started informing that new wait command is there. So flakiness problem is no tool will be able to solve it if your implementation is not right. whatever problems the new tools are telling you that they will solve, that will, you will, if you are not doing it the right way, your new tool will also show you these problems. Okay, Kunal? So again, that talk, I'll share the Selenium conference link. You need to go and listen to the talk by David Barnes. Okay? Well, is that okay, Kunal?
Yes, Pallavi.
Okay,
That's answered my question. Yeah, thank you.
sure. Is Selenite popular compared to Playwright? Do we have Playwright Java implementation? What are their downloads? And to see the popularity of a project, you can always go ahead and check that project's downloads, implementation, questions on Stack Overflow. And before you do all of this, go to the GitHub, okay? And you can find out that information. Selenite is not new to the market. It's it's an old project, not new. So, Orlean, you mentioned, right? You're already using Selenite and you're
No, actually, I'm not. But once
okay.
I've been talking with his author in the
Right.
Slack
The
workspace
creating.
because
Mhm.
I wanted to solve something that with Selenium was not exactly possible. So it was about, I think, getting the browser logs, the
Okay.
console. Or the API request, I think something like this some time ago. I'm not using it, but he was suggesting, he
Right.
said that thanks to this, I could solve my problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Is it normal practice to use partially Selenium based and remaining project in regular Selenium or vice versa? My question to you would be, why would you want to do that? I mean, you need to have a reason. Uh, if if you have a scenario, no, it's not a normal practice to use partially Selenium base and regular Selenium. Selenium base is built on Selenium bindings, the Python one. If you have a situation where you would like to do that, feel free to do it. But I'm not able to understand why and where would you be needing that situation. Have I answered your question, Kavi?
Yes, I was only wondering if it is not fully implemented Selenium base. Let us
No,
see.
it is. Again, it's a pretty old project, very well maintained.
Mm.
And you can always, join the one thing I did not mention. I did not mention in the links, but each of these projects have their interface for the end user. Like, if I'm not wrong, Selenium base is also available on Selenium Slack channel, and they also have their own Discord server. So it is always good to, go to those places uh, and know more about the project and kind of issues users are facing and the kind of work they have been able to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think I have picked up most of the questions, and now I would want to basically volume I need to reduce. 1 second. How do I get, yeah, let it showcase the ad. Okay, I'm not signed in. That's why. Sorry about that. Okay, more ads. I should sign in then. Skip. Fine. Yeah, here is the talk by David. So the chat. So this one talks about browsers and browser engines are not equal and where you will find that problem, okay? And this one talks about Selenium base. And the conference link where it talks about the question about flakiness and playwright, Orlin shared that link. And you can always go ahead and look at a lot of other wonderful talks by just going to the website. If you want to start learning Selenium now, you have noticed many recorded course and tutorials, which are 4 years old and based on older version. That's okay. Yeah. No, you won't miss much. See, Kunal, Selenium is one of those projects which has maintained the backend dependencies, the back versions dependencies. Having said that, some of the commands indeed were removed, and on, for example, I think desired capabilities was one of the changes which happened from 3 to 4. So I would say that 90% of the concepts would remain the same. Maybe 10% would change. And you can always go ahead and look at the Selenium's main website to understand, Selenium, how to use, and the documentation provides us a lot of good steps. So whichever recorded course you are using, look at the main documentation. Socials, thank you for joining. Any more questions?
So, looks good. I also want to say thank you for the great insights and for your time. We really appreciate it because it's nearly midnight for you, right?
Yeah, it is.
And
But it's okay. There's no carriage which turns into pumpkin, so it's all fine. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. Those all you who have joined the session, thank you so much for staying. Some of you, if you're joining from India, it's pretty late. Yeah.
Hi Pallavi. So is there
Thank
any session going to continue, or we are going to end with only Selenium today?
I think we are going to end now. We just wanted to say thank you to all of you.
Yeah, thanks Pallavi. It's been a nice session. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you,
hope you are
Arvind.
from India.
Okay.
Yeah, we
yeah,
will
and-
hand
and
over to
very much
Alexander.
thank you. So thank you, Arlen. Thank you, Alexander, and everybody at Continuous Testing Meetup. Thanks, Diego. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sauce
So,
Labs.
is there any LinkedIn profile, anything, Pallavi, like, or anything to like
Yeah,
connect you, or
sure.
like?
Sure, you can definitely connect to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
so
I got it.
okay,
Yeah,
so
Pallavi, sir. Yeah.
so yeah, can you see the LinkedIn name, also the Twitter name?
Yes. Yeah.
Muse Pallavi.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah, join all of us at LinkedIn. Please find Orlean
Yeah,
and
sure.
Alexander and get in touch.
Yeah, definitely, Pallavi, will be in touch with you. And since it's happening in German, I connected with from Berlin. So is there anyone from Berlin here local? Germany, or it is?
Alexander, sir.
Yes, Sukumar, me too in Berlin.
Cannot speak for the
Yeah.
others. Yeah, we're now ending this session. So if there's any speaker or someone who wants to become a speaker here, you can send us an email on continuoustestingmeetup.com, testingmeetup@gmail.com. Sorry. And connect with us. And then you can also get a great speech and have a great speech like Plavi today. We are always looking for speakers. And as I said right in the beginning, you can go to continuoustestingmeetup.com and see all the previous meetups. And I hope from tomorrow on also the next one, the one from today. Sorry. Thank you for your time and your patience with Eclipse. And thank you for joining, and would like to see you on the next meetup again. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening or whatever. Let it be nice.
Yes.
Enjoy
Auf
the
Wiedersehen.
nature.
Thank you,
Dankeschön.
everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Thank you all.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers. Yes.
Yes, bye.